Hello everyone, welcome back to the Hindu Explainer series. I am Kushagra Goel. And on March 2, we have started with another initiative for all of you, right? Wherein now the videos will be available at an earlier time and at a set schedule, right? Because there is, on most of the days, there is some difference between 10 to 15 minutes when we upload the video, right? So now we have already set a timer, and from when onwards the video will be available for all of you. So one major concern of all of you addressed, right? Now, before I begin with doubts from yesterday, there is one concern about how to cover backlog newspapers, right? So my suggestion to you all is that when you are watching the series, don't focus on the date of the newspaper. Focus on the topics, all right? Wherein the division that we make, the index that we make of the video is going to help you all deal with it, right? Because the index provides each topic that we have covered. And now onwards, if you see the past 1 week, we have also started differentiating in the important editorials within the index itself, right? So for you all who want to cover backlog newspapers, what you now need to do is only focus on the important editorials that we have highlighted within the index to cover, along with the topics on in-depth analysis, right? So the index will now cover for you all the important topics that need to be covered, and therefore you can make notes. So you don't have to focus on dates, you have to focus on topics. Therefore, most of your notes that you make, handwritten notes or your email or any e-notes that you are making, even on those you can focus on topic wise notes. So for example, US-Iran deal, alright, or a summit that took place, or any other, for example, assembly elections. Within national news, assembly elections, that will be your heading. So make it heading wise when you are covering backlog newspapers, alright. On that note, beginning with the doubts, one doubt a lot of you had was, what is section 79, the safe harbor principle? So the safe harbor principle is to protect you or provide immunity to those who host content. For example, if there is a newspaper delivery guy, what is published in the newspaper may be problematic, but the one who provides you access to that newspaper, your newspaper delivery guy, cannot be held accountable for what is there in the newspaper, right? Similarly, social media, websites or intermediaries host content, alright? So to protect them from liability as to what is there on the content. So for example, Deep Sandhu is a person who has been arrested under 26 January violence at the Red Fort, right? The trial is ongoing. So he live streamed the event from Facebook Live on 26 January when he was at the Red Fort standing there, right? So now Facebook cannot be held liable for the 26 January violence at Red Fort. It is the content of Deep Sandhu and that person who will be held accountable. So this is precisely what is safe harbor principle under section 79. Now under this a new liability under the new rules of 2021 is this, that in case someone has highlighted that a content is problematic and the social media website does not take action against it, then they can be held liable. That is the new rider in the safe harbor principle, alright. On that note, we will begin with today's newspaper. There is one editorial that is really important which summarizes the US-Iran deal. So we will be covering that. On that note, let's begin, right? So on the front page, there has been a report published in New York Times about Chinese cyber attack which was behind the power outage in Mumbai recently, or in Maharashtra in general. Alright, so we will be discussing this news in depth. It was related to the attack on Power Sector Operations Corporation of India, alright. So then on the left hand side, the second phase of COVID-19 vaccinations began, and here is the picture of Prime Minister Modi taking his first dose of the Covaxin. Venkaiah Naidu, a lot of other politicians and public leaders also participated in the second phase of vaccinization, which is one available for people from 45 to age of 59 with comorbidities and 60 above for anyone. So the government has clarified one thing: for registration you have to use the CoWIN portal, not the CoWIN app. The CoWIN app is only for frontline health workers. All right, so make a note about that. If you're helping anyone in your family get access to the COVID-19 vaccination, make sure that you register them on the CoWIN portal. All right, then moving on from other national news, nothing of real note for us apart from one here, that to create a digital database about different restaurants and resto bars, the Delhi Excise Department will now be making it mandatory for such personnels or establishments to provide location and create their database on Google Maps, and from there they will be making the database. All right, so this is one policy update. And then IIT Delhi researchers have developed a technology for recycling e-waste. What is e-waste? E-waste is anything from your mobile phone to the LED lights that you put in, to the keyboard or the old telephone or landline phone in your household. All those are part of e-waste. E-waste is the largest or the most highest growth waste related component now, right? So within this, the technology is not something that is really relevant. It is, what is relevant is to understand e-waste and under what initiative they are creating it, which is Smart Cities and Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. All right, then moving on the editorial front. All right, so the main editorial is the one that is most important. It highlights the entire journey of US-Iran nuclear deal, or the JCPOA. All right, so I will be before illustrating this entire journey. We know the US-Iran deal in crux, which is basically to prevent Iran from having nuclear weapons. All right, so that is under the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. It was signed in 2015 by P5+1. All right, the P5 countries along with European Union. The incumbent president of United States then was Barack Obama, and he called it as his greatest diplomatic success. All right, so after this, after Barack Obama admitted office, Donald Trump came into power. During his entire campaign also, he was one who was against the JCPOA. All right, what was the purpose of JCPOA? JCPOA obliged Iran to accept constraints on enrichment program, verified by intrusive inspection regime, and in return for partial lifting of economic sanctions. So it was give and take deal. You do not enrich uranium and make nuclear weapons, and we will provide you with economic access to our economic resources. All right, very straightforward. But when Donald Trump took over office in 2018, he unilaterally exited the JCPOA. All right, and imposed the harshest sanctions on Iran. All right, in response to that, the other members of the European Union, that is France, Germany and United Kingdom, promised Iran to mitigate the US decision. What was the US decision? Now, in the meantime of this support, two other events took place. All right, one, the assassination of two Iranian people. One is General Qasem Soleimani by US. He was a member of the Revolutionary Guards Corps. All right, and the second person whose assassination is still not confirmed but alleged to be done by Israel is of Mohsen Fakhrizadeh. He was a nuclear scientist and head of research and innovation organization in Iran Defense Ministry. All right, and along with that was another attack that took place on the Nantes nuclear facility, which is located around Khojir. All right, along with this, now in response of these attacks, Iran stated that one, it will carry on with uranium enrichment and create a underground nuclear facility. All right, and along with that, as we progress now, a new platform was created. What was this platform? Instrument in Support for Trade Exchanges, INSTEX. Who created it? It was in response to the help that E3 proposed to Iran, all right, which was for trade exchange from European Union and Iran, all right. Now the situation with the US deal is that US is saying you stop enriching the uranium and we will lift sanctions. Iran is saying you first lift sanctions and then we will go back, all right. So this impasse is going on in the Iran US deal, all right. Last time it was brokered by ONAM, and this time it is now hopefully Qatar and Kuwait will be able to assist in or mediate between Iran and US about the JCPOA or save it, because in case this is not saved, Iran makes nuclear weapons, then the entire Middle Eastern region becomes more volatile and vulnerable than it is already is, all right. So that is something that needs to be kept in mind. The UN Secretary General Special Envoy for this area is Martin Griffiths. That is also another person related to the Iran-US deal. So from this, what all you need to note about is the two individuals who have been assassinated, the attack, what facility of Iran which was attacked, along with the players in this and the Instec platform, all right. So this is something that you need to keep in mind related to Iran-US nuclear deal, all right. So this is the briefest summary that you can have about the Iran-US nuclear deal. Moving on the left hand side, it is about political analysis about the upcoming elections there. Then on the second one, cold comfort, Pakistan avoided blacklisting on FATF, all right. Financial Action Task Force decided to retain Pakistan on grey list because it stated that out of 27 it had complied with the other 24 points, but one major one because of which it was not removed from grey list altogether is because of terror financing. So Pakistan needs to still do more on to protect itself from removing altogether from the FATF watchdog list, all right. So as of now it remains on the grey list. The new review of it will take place in June, all right. So what you need to keep in mind is the name of the FATF president, Marcus Player, and he has cited that there is significant progress. There is also renewed hope of Pakistan complying with this because recently India and Pakistan's Director General of Military Operations agreed to uphold the 2003 ceasefire. Alright, so there is renewed hope. This is something that we need to keep an eye on about the developing story. Alright, then the second editorial, a loan waiver rain and a state fiscal capacity drought. This is analyzing the interim budget that the Tamil Nadu Assembly has passed for the first 2 months. Interim budget is passed to make the state work till the time the new government takes over. When the new government takes over, they will be the one who will present the real budget for the entire month. And this is analyzing how farm loan waivers and not supporting public sector undertakings has an impact on the overall economic growth of the state. Alright, so this is not relevant for us, therefore I have not highlighted it. Then moving on the OPED page, the left-hand one, an unusual new media code. This is the Australia's new news law, which is known as the mandatory bargaining code. We have already understood it, analyzed it, what it does. It ensures that now news agencies are paid by social media companies, namely Facebook and Google, for the content of news that they host, and they can enter into deals with different news agencies about how much they will be paying, and the law mandates that this is the minimum threshold and the upper limit in certain positions, but platforms are free to enter into other agreements, whatever be the fee, and that is one that will help them protect themselves from the upper limit of payment. The OPED analyzes how it can be better, what can be the alternatives. For us, that is not relevant. All right, what becomes relevant is knowing the law and what it does. All right, which is that one, Facebook, Google needs to pay to news outlets about the content of news agencies that they host there, and can get into individual contract deals with these companies about licensing fee for news content. All right, then the second editorial here on op-ed is about political analysis and symbolism and Bengal's politics of identity. Nothing of real note for us, therefore skipping them. Then the last one, masters and the roster, the collegium system and the CJI. The CJI, or the Chief Justice of India, is the highest judicial officer of our country, or the judicial position of our country. All right, and as per the judgment of Ashok Pandey versus Supreme Court of India in 2018, the CJI is the master of the roster. What does this mean? Master of the roster means that the CJI decides which case will go to which bench, who will sit on different benches. So Supreme Court has approximately 15 courtrooms. What will be the composition of each bench? This is like class arrangement, right? Seat arrangement in different classes that teachers used to do in school, right? So the CJI is the one who determines who will sit where, and the CJI is also like the principal of the school, determining the timetable of the school. So who will go to what case, or what case will be heard by what bench, both those things are determined by the CJI. Alright. Now the second thing is the collegium system. The collegium system is the response of Supreme Court about how judicial appointments will be taken place. Alright, so the CJI along with 4 senior most judges of the Supreme Court constitute the collegium of the Supreme Court. Alright, now both these systems are Supreme Court's innovation in response. The editorial criticizes about how if you have to override judicial independence in the country, all you need is a pliant CJI. So if the government controls the CJI, they control the judiciary, is what the case the editorial is making. For us, that is not relevant. For us, what is relevant is to understand the concept of master of the roster, and remember that the collegium system is the one that makes appointments to the Supreme Court judges and makes decisions about elevation of High Court judges from different high courts to Supreme Court. Alright, then moving on, the data point talks about how vaccination is helping in reducing the number of COVID cases in different places, specifically taking the US example. Alright, then moving on the other national news, nothing of real note apart from following up on the Chinese cyber attack on power grid. Alright, so what all do we need to know? Which is the group that is being claimed to have undertaken this cyber attack? It is known as a Chinese hack group named as Red Echo. Alright, this becomes easier to remember because Communist Party of China uses red as the color. Red is the color that they use. The Soviet Union also used the same color. So Red Echo. And what was the malware that they used to attack it? It is known as Shadow Pad. Alright, now it is stated that India was alerted about this attack way before. That is all conspiracy related to who did it, but the malware which attacked and the group that is alleged to have done this becomes relevant to note down from the news. Alright, then moving on the other national news, there is more details about this. Then a lot of you asked questions, is the politics related to the G23 is within the Congress party relevant for us? Absolutely not. Internal politics of different political parties not relevant for us at all. Alright, they are not the one that make facts. These are political events of no real value. Alright, then similar to this is the case of Trinamool Congress and the RJD tying up, or what will happen there or then. So those things are not relevant for us to keep a note, right? Then moving on the other national news, US has published an annual trade. So just like India publishes our standing parliamentary committees make reports, US also makes reports which is presented to their house, right? So in their 2021 President's Trade Agenda and 2020 annual report, which was submitted to the US Trade Representative to the Congress. Alright, this flagged the concern about the Make in India and the Atmanirbhar Bharat package. See, when you are a foreign trader, you want the country to import, right? But when you are a domestic trader, you don't want people from outside to come. So this is the classic case of US traders telling how India should not have a inward looking initiatives such as Atmanirbhar Bharat package or Make in India package. They want to create jobs in their country, therefore they would prefer that if India had a export narrative. Similarly, when India wants to trade in US, India wants US to keep its market open. Our major concern with China is that while we let Chinese goods to come in, China does not let Indian goods and services to go to China, right? So this is similar to what we have with China, and that is the case that this report is making, all right? Within this, there is another thing which is generalized system of preferences. This system of preferences that is given to different countries or goods of different origin was taken away from India by Donald Trump, all right? So this part of package is something that is hoped that would be recovered by Joe Biden when they reassess India's policy narrative, all right? Then apart from that, the government has submitted that they are reviewing WhatsApp's privacy policy, all right? So we have to wait for 3 more weeks about what is done. Moving on the international news, 2 new charges have been imposed on Aung San Suu Kyi. So she has been put under house arrest. 2 charges on which she has been charged. First, that she had walkie-talkies in her house which were not permitted by the military, and secondly that she conducted an election rally when the COVID restrictions were ongoing. It is on these 2 grounds that an elected legal chancellor of the country has been put under house arrest. Now 2 new charges have been put in on her, both related to these events only. One is about breaching communication laws, which is that she had walkie-talkies, that is a breach of communication laws, and secondly that by virtue of she addressing an election rally, she was trying to incite a public unrest in Myanmar. So those charges have been put on Aung San Suu Kyi in Myanmar. More violent unrest is ongoing in Myanmar, more brutal clampdown. Now along with that, there is one more update from China, that China has appointed veteran PLA authority to a new position. Who is this person? General Zhao Zhenhui was the one who was heading the Western Command of China. Western Command, that is the one that borders India, is the largest command of Chinese military. He has now been made vice chairperson of National People's Congress Special Committee on Foreign Affairs. Alright, so this is the one that determines how planning will be undertaken by the overall government, what will be done. So this is talking about how, so General Zhao Zhenhui is considered to be one who is supposed to have a harsher stance on India. He was the one that was related to the entire LAC situation also, alright. Then moving on, other US politics situations not relevant for us, whether Donald Trump runs for presidency or whether US maintains a hard stand on China or not. So this is article is in response to the same report that we talked about, the annual trade report of 2020, alright, in which the case is being made that China or sanctions on Chinese trade will remain from US. Apart from that, on the international news, one more update is about one former French president, that is Nicolas Sarkozy, has been put under jail for corruption cases. He was the president of France from 2007 to 2012. Alright. Then on the economic news, nothing of real note for us. Spectrum allocation bidding took place yesterday. These are not for 5G spectrums. Alright. That is of one note. And apart from that, on part of disinvestment, something that was announced in the budget, the BPCL has decided to sell its Numaligarh refinery in Assam to whom? Oil India and Engineers India Limited and the Assam government. So the 61% stake of BPCL will be taken over by these 3 entities together. Alright. On that note, on the sporting front, there is one more news for you all to note, which is that Djokovic ties with Federer's record of being on top of ATP world ranking for 310 weeks. Alright. So this is the record that Roger Federer held. Now Djokovic has equaled it and will most likely extend it further because he retains the he retained the Australian Open title and is more likely to be better off than Roger Federer in the coming calendar year. Alright, so this is the record that he has now equaled along with Roger Federer. On that note, we will conclude for the day. Remember to make notes about the Iran-US nuclear deal, all the points that we highlighted, and along with that other policy updates about the Chinese attack, the spyware, the malware and the group who did it, and the Djokovic record, alright, from the sporting front. On that note, thank you so much. If you like the work that we are doing, please give this video a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, do subscribe. Thank you so much.